all about you. So we're going to jump into you. Tell us all about who you are, how young you are, what you do for a living, all about your family. Let's hear every little detail.
Okay, I am a daughter, a sister, a mom, a wife, not necessarily in that order. I've been married for 31 years. My husband and I met in college. We have 3 adult children, and my son is getting married in 41 days. And I have
Oh,
2 daughters. So right now, he's the star of the show.
he's the star of the show. Okay, I have two sons, so I can relate to that.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell us your story is very inspirational. So tell us what was going on with your health before you started the midlife makeover program.
Yeah, well, I mean, it started with sheer vanity. I looked at a picture and I was like, well, I certainly don't want to look like that for wedding photos that are around forever. So that was the first beginning of it all, was sheer vanity in photos. And then it got a little more real with not feeling great and not having a lot of energy. And I've always been a busy person. I'm not one to like have a lazy way about my day, but it just started to get harder and harder to do the things that I usually do. And I mean, teaching preschool, I teach twos and threes, so that is a super high energy job, but I only do it half a day. So I would come home and I would just eat lunch and I would be so tired. And I'm like, well, I guess that's what it is to be in your mid 50s. I guess you just get tired now. But I kind of deep down knew that that wasn't the case. So it was the combination of the two. And then my dad wasn't super healthy in his 50s and passed away in his 50s. So that was just all kind of the perfect storm of all of those factors, really made it real this time, not just about, I have to look good for the wedding.
Yeah. Yeah. And you had a lot of aha moments, a lot of wins. Share with us your biggest wins on your journey. I know that's a lot to
Well, I mean,
answer.
the lifestyle change is just huge. And I have, yo-yoed forever. I've never had a thin frame. I've never, it's always been, you go out with friends and like, you're in seventh grade and they can eat a whole thing of chocolate chip cookies and they're thin and you're like, but I'm not. That's just been forever. So I never thought it was in my future to feel fit and to feel really confident. And now it is. And I'm like, whoa, like what? So that's huge. I mean, and just to feel better, like I feel more flexible. I feel more, so that's just huge for me.
Yeah. So tell us what about this program kind of made it possible for you? Because I can relate to that so much about like having thin friends and never being like that was
Yeah.
like kind of my story too.
Right. I guess what I needed, I know, when you're getting to be, you're not in your 30s or your 40s, you're in your 50s, you have a little bit of insight to like who you truly are. And I knew that I needed somebody to keep me accountable. I know that I've always been a good student. I want the, A's and B's, probably A's, and that's just been my nature. So I knew if I was going to do it and somebody was going to be watching me do it, I was going to care and I was going to show up. And that's how it began, is it wasn't necessarily for me, it was for the good grade. But then I started to feel good. And then I was like, huh, maybe now I understand what endorphins and what exercise makes you feel. And so now, yeah, I still like for you to be like, oh my gosh, way to go. But it's beyond that at this point. It's not just for the gold star. It's for like, wow, I feel good. I can show up. I can walk, 3 miles and not be behind the crowd. I can work out with my daughter and she's like, Mom, this is hard. And I mean, just 30 years younger. So it makes a difference.
Wow. I just got chills. Okay, so let's talk about because you are, amazing. You did, but before you started, tell us about kind of like your fears, any doubts that kind of crept in because, we've all kind of been there where we've done everything before. So
Yeah,
tell us
I
your
I didn't want to fail again. I didn't want to do like quote unquote the 30, the 60, the 90 day, whatever it was, get to that magic number and then in, 3 months be back where I started. It was just over and over again. And it gets, I don't consider myself to ever be a failure in things I do, but I wasn't succeeding. And it was frustrating. And it was like a circle and it just kept happening. And I knew that this once I started enjoying it, it's now who I am. It's not just oh, I have to work out. Like I look forward to doing it. I look forward to being active. And now that we're looking at marriage, that means active future for me with more little ones that are actually mine instead of, all the other little ones that I love.
how was this, our program different than all the other things that you have done?
I guess it didn't scream restrictive. Like everything in the past was what you couldn't do. Can't have the carbs, can't have this, can't eat after 5, can't, like, it was just all the no's. And again, it was just kind of like a circle of, it wasn't a positive feeling. It was just a lot of negative and a lot of don't do this. And this was really opposite. It was very positive. It was very, okay, if you do decide that you want to have chips and salsa at 8 o'clock at night, it's not going to be the end of the world. It's not going to sabotage, everything that you do 9 days out of 10. Like it wasn't that feeling of, "Ah, I screwed up, forget it, I'm done." Like that was what was happening before. And it's not. It's about just write it down and you're fine. And I think another thing that you said along the way was, it's the whole week, it's the whole month. It's not one decision, one choice. Like if you want it, it's not about deprivation. So that was important.
Yeah, I that's so it's just the truth, right? We know
Yeah,
that logically, but sometimes we need to hear that. I mean, I think some people don't know that, and that is I that's kind of like our goal is to change that
right.
perspective. So, because you had done so many things like so many women, what kind of changed for you in the mindset perspective?
I think I just realized that I was becoming successful. I was enjoying it and I was seeing the results. So like again, a perfect storm of like, wow, this is and like it's now who I am. Like it's not just a blip on my radar. It's not just like, oh, until I'm, 60, I will no, it's like who I am. And that's huge because even like my husband said the other day, and it was a compliment. It didn't necessarily sound like a compliment at the time. But he's like, you've worked out more this time in your life than everything cumulatively. And I don't mean like, hardcore miserable, just the consistency of being active is new, and I never did that before.
Yeah, I would love for you to share about the workouts because I feel like so many women think they need to like jump and like sweat or like
Yeah,
obsessively to like lose the weight and be
right.
miserable.
When I started, like my knees were terrible. Like even steps were hurting my knees, and I'm like, that's really not good. Like there's nothing good about that. And then I know, your body's all connected. So lo and behold, my hips were feeling great. So I'm like, gosh, I'm not going to be the mom, the grandma who can't go up and down steps for God's sakes. And I think we were somewhere once upon a time, and somebody my age, because of the healthy choices that they made, was using a lot of adaptive equipment. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to be like the grandma on the scooter at Disney. Like I know people have other issues, but for
Of
me,
course.
I was like, that's not going to be my story. Like I want to be the one who goes on the rides and has all the fun and is, actively engaged. My knees hurt, my hips hurt, everything hurt. And so I was very slow. I mean, I always did it. I always, but when you did the, this is a adaptation, this is like another way to do it. That was the beginning. I was always being cautious. And a lot of times I couldn't do it. So I was doing what I could do still within the strength training and the workouts that you provided. So that was super helpful. There's so many different ways to pick something else. Like lunges are just hard, and that's okay. Squats, I'm like killing. So I get it. Like it doesn't have to be, oh, I can't do it, done by, like, that's not it.
Yeah, I would love for you to kind of share not just like how you're feeling, but like how your family, I know you spoke about your daughter and your
Right.
husband, like how, and your friends, like how they're kind of responding to you.
Well, my daughter lives in California, so I don't see her daily. I see her, special times during the year. So when she did come in most recently, she just saw a big difference in the way I looked, the way I felt, the way I acted, and the fact that we worked out together and like actually did it together had never happened before. So that was huge. And she was just super proud. And that was, she's always been that way. Like she's more a role model for me than I have been for her in health and wellness. So that was kind of cool that I was, meeting her where she is happy. I mean, friends have noticed, and even the trivial, but not so trivial, trying on the dress for the wedding and knowing that that's the dress and I feel confident in the dress and I don't have to wear god awful shapewear that you pry up and like are miserable for hours. That's not gonna happen. So that's pretty fun. Yeah, and
Yeah.
my husband's habits have changed. He's, working out more and we're eating things that are, easy to fix and not difficult, but just, making choices, being more mindful.
Yeah. I think a lot of people, they don't realize the impact that it has on their future, right? Like being healthy has such a
Yeah.
big impact on your future with grandkids and this feeling. So what was your favorite part of the
I
program?
mean, I think the part that really has been most valuable is the communication. Like, I wasn't sure when you signed up how much you would be there and how much you would comment and how much you would the support. I didn't know. I mean, I was hopeful, but that has been really important just because not that there's days that I don't want to do it because I do love it, but there are days that, you chime in and you're like, where was your nutrition last night? And I'll be like, oh, well, I went to a restaurant. I didn't write it down. It's just that checking in has been really important. That's been something I hadn't had before. And I think that's why I've been successful or, getting to my goals.
Do we ever tell you like not to eat chocolate or like food, do we give you like a list of foods you can't eat or anything like that?
Well, and that's why it was so doable. It's not restrictive. It's not. I mean, you say all the time, food doesn't have emotion. It's not bad food and good food, and that really was a switch in my brain and in how I thought about things. And no, it's about just accountability. If you decide that you want to have the ice cream sundae and that's what your family's doing, and it being a lifelong restrictive in my health and diet, like it was freeing to not have that. Whatever you do, don't. That wasn't the case, and that was lovely.
So what would you say to someone who has been like following us or struggling for like, a couple months, even years, even like their whole life, and they're just afraid to pull the trigger? What would you say to them?
I mean, it's everything gets a little bit trickier as we age. I know premenopause, postmenopause, like I know things change with our bodies and with, but there really isn't. There's no reason not to show up for yourself. I mean, that's the bottom line. It was initially vanity, but then it became long-term health. And if you're not feeling that you're at your best, and even if you just want to get a little better, like that's the great place to start. Because I mean, I have a lot to still work on. I have a lot of things and I have bigger goals, but that doesn't mean, you don't start. And it doesn't have to be overwhelming. It can be one little bit at a time.